There's a lot of discernment in that definition of leadership from the standpoint of knowing what's the rate that they can handle, because we've seen leaders who've made decisions that were too fast, too quick, too broad, and it destroyed the company or destroyed the church or split the church. And yet you want a leader to love and care about the organization and the people and the staff, but yet you know that you're going to let some of them down at some point. And you still have to be willing and able to make those decisions and do so at a rate that they can tolerate.
Welcome to the Market It with ATMA Podcast, where we give you the tips, tools, and strategies you need to be successful. My name is Bryan. I'll be your host today, and today we have a very special guest. He's actually the pastor of my church. Pastor Marty Collier has dedicated his life to helping people find and follow Jesus. He surrendered to ministry at just 16 years old and began serving as student pastor at the age of 19. Since joining Rush Creek Church in 1998, he has served on multiple leadership roles, including student pastor, campus pastor, and since 2019, lead pastor overseeing 5 campuses across Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Under his leadership, Rush Creek has continued its mission of removing obstacles and restoring opportunities for people to encounter Christ, grow in their faith, and impact their communities through the movement known as Rush Creek Loves. Marty has been married to his wife, Stephanie, for 27 years. And together they have 3 children. He is passionate about leadership development, community impact, and building a church that reaches people far from God. Pastor Marty, welcome to the show. Before we get into the show, let's say thank you to our sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by NuvoDesk Co-working, the home of Arlington's most accessible production-ready podcast studio. Whether you're launching your first show or leveling up your content game, NuvoDesk gives you a professional studio environment where you can walk in, hit record, and create. But NuvoDesk is more than just a podcast room. It's a fully equipped business hub with private offices, conference rooms, and workshop and event spaces designed to help you host, collaborate, and grow. If you're ready to elevate your brand, your business, or your voice, book your next recording or your next tour at nuvodesk.com. Create here, work here, build here. Today's episode is brought to you by Nuvio, the all-in-one business platform designed to help you build, manage, and scale with confidence. With Nuvio, you can build your own website in minutes, manage all of your leads and customers through a powerful CRM, and if you're in the restaurant industry, you can run your entire operations using Nuvio's modern point-of-sale system. Whether you're a startup, a service provider, or a full-scale restaurant, Nuvio gives you everything you need in one place. Simple, connected, and built to grow with you. Discover why entrepreneurs are switching to Nuvio. Visit nuvio.com and run your entire business on one platform. Well, welcome back to the Market It with ATMA Podcast. And in this show, we typically talk about how to build, launch, grow, and scale. And build, launch, grow, scale, looks different. We use it in our marketing firm to helping build, launch, grow, scale campaigns, build, launch, grow, scale websites. But that goes in every direction when it comes to business as a whole. We could be talking about marketing. We could be talking about sales. We could be talking about operations and even leadership. And even in church organizations, build, launch, grow, scale is a foundation. And we have Pastor Marty here to talk about, and he's my pastor, so I'm kind of biased, right? But Pastor Marty here to talk about what it looked like to build, launch, grow, scale, and your journey as a leader in leading the Church of Rush Creek, right? And so you started ministry at the age of 16. That's pretty young. You decided, hey, I'm gonna jump in. That's my calling. That's what I want to do. What led you to that decision?
Yeah, no. First of all, thank you, Bryan, for having me on the podcast. I love what you're doing and what your team is doing here, and I think this is so valuable, both for the faith space as well as business and leadership. So yeah, I sense from the Lord that maybe vocational ministry, meaning full-time vocational ministry inside of a church, would be my future at the age of 16. And really what led to that is I lost my dad to cancer when I was 13. He was 47. It was a pretty tragic event in my life, obviously. And that same summer, God brought a student pastor to our church that just invested in people in a way that I had never really experienced. And he just, me along with other folks in our ministry, both men and, young men and young ladies, he just gave a lot of attention, poured into us, and he really just helped us see what he saw in us. And so that was very valuable in that time of me surrendering to the ministry at 16. And then I didn't start into ministry actually until I was 19. But it was some family and life challenges that were going on, which caused me to really be at a place where kind of my hands were open, like, God, what do you want to do in my life? And what do you want to do with my life? What do you want me to do? And then placing people in my life who just kind of spoke into me and told me that really, essentially, I was made for more than just to live and breathe, and invited me into the journey of what would it look like if you were to surrender and give your life to a higher calling, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's important because when people look at all the people that we have on, you're the lead pastor, you're the leader, but even you, right? Like the human side, people don't realize how human we are. Sure. I remember calling you about my dad, who also had cancer. That was very scary. Yes. And I believe had he not made it to that hospital, he would not be with us today. Yeah. It's those moments that really changed the trajectory of who you are as a person, and as leaders. Like, how do you, you're going to have not just obstacles in business, but in life itself, and how do you balance that, right? Yeah. And so you spent nearly 3 decades with Rush Creek. Looking back, what really originally attracted you to Rush Creek and its mission? Yeah,
so Rush Creek actually found me in a season of my life where I just moved to Texas, originally from Arkansas. And at the time, I was in between ministry jobs. And so I didn't know how difficult seminary was going to be. I was getting my master's, and Russ Barksdale, who was the lead pastor at the time, called me and just said, hey, I'm looking for a student minister. Would you come and talk to me about that? And as he just explained, number one, I already had a love for just the mission of the church. And the mission of the church, every church that's a Bible-believing church, the mission is the same. Jesus gives us that mission. Great commandment to love the Lord your God with all your heart. Great commission to go to all nations, baptizing them. So I've had a deep love for the mission of the church. And then the specific expression of that at Rush Creek is Russ just really wanted to reach people who were far from God. Yeah. People who may have been what we would call de-church, meaning that they had been burned by church before, or they had an understanding of church that was not, we felt like was not truly reflective of what God wanted the church to look like. And God just drew my heart to really Russ and his vision for Rush Creek. And then I just fell in love with the people of Rush Creek. I mean, that was in 1998. And, not just Pastor Russ, but other mentors. Like, who were other mentors that really influenced you, poured into you, that made you, who you are today? Yeah. So the student minister that I mentioned, that when the summer that my dad died, he's still a part of my life today. And I still visit with him regularly. In fact, I was on a podcast with him not long ago. He's a professor now at a Christian university. And then I've had a couple of, in my ministry, just the pastors that I've served under in ministry, and I've only served at 4 churches. But the pastors that I've served under have all just invested in my life in specific ways. Sometimes in calling me out to do things that are outside of my comfort zone, but always speaking into my life in a way that's calling me upward, meaning calling me to something that they see that I may not have seen. And Pastor Russ was no different. And along the way, from when I was 19 to my second church was a larger church where I was a junior high minister, and then Rush Creek and one other church in Alabama. Every one of them have just had people, mostly my supervisors or my pastors, just pouring in, speaking in, helping develop my leadership, giving me opportunities that are a little bit above my pay grade, so to speak, because that's how you really develop your leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that and this is just a society thing too, but to your point, like doing things above your pay grade, those are opportunities to learn.
Yes.
And a lot of people sometimes don't look at it that way.
Right.
It's like, hey, I just need to get paid for it. No, sometimes it's like, well, do you even have the experience for it? Right. And if you don't have experience for it, there's tons of stuff that I've had to do where I've had to learn. And once I've learned, I knew the value of it, and I was comfortable in executing it, and then we could implement it, right? And then charge for it.
Absolutely.
And so
I think we miss the value of the education of every single day. I think that we sometimes we can get in the mindset in our world today of just like, this is my job, this is my livelihood, this is what I do for a paycheck. But every day we should be learning something. Every day is educating us to be better leaders, to be better delegators, and to lead the people around us. And seriously, I've had a pastor who literally said, hey, I'm going to invite you into meetings that I'm not inviting you in there to necessarily contribute. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful. He was just like, this is kind of above your pay grade, but you need to start seeing how leadership at this level happens.
Right.
From difficult conversations to board meetings to even some situations where people were having to be let go, that kind of thing. And I'm just kind of a fly on the wall, which was such an incredible educational experience in my leadership.
So you're telling me even in the church you have to let people go?
Man, I don't like to say that, but sometimes it's just not a great fit, and you don't realize it until usually they realize it also, and so that's what makes it better. But yeah, even in the faith space and in the churches, you sometimes realize someone's not a great fit, and you hope that you can find another seat for them on the bus.
Yeah,
if they're a loyal and a trusted employee and haven't done something unethical.
Right.
But sometimes there's not another seat on the bus.
Yeah.
And you want to graciously and as much compassion as possible just say, hey, I think we need to probably go a different direction.
Yep. Yep. And those are very hard decisions to make.
They are.
Period.
They are.
Right. And as you grow, because you guys launch multiple campuses, not just one. I mean, we started with the Green Oaks campus,
Correct.
And now you have multiple location. How did that go about? What made that decision, and what was the process of actually planning that out and launching those campuses?
Yeah. So this was, again, some of this I inherited. So Russ Barksdale, who's the lead pastor at that time, invited me on to his staff again. So I'd actually left Rush Creek for a season after I'd been the student minister, and I was serving in a church in Alabama for 4 years. And Russ had a deep sense that he wanted to go multi-site. Not that he thought Rush Creek was the end-all, be-all, like the best church out there. He just thought if we can get as many healthy, vibrant churches in different places around the community, that's easier and maybe long-term better for the kingdom than trying to get everybody to come to one location from 15, 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And so he, in 2004, started having conversations with me about coming back to Rush Creek and leading what is now called our Miralagos campus. And so we prayed about it for about a year. And he was having to kind of convince, because that was pretty new at that time, multi-site. Today, that's pretty standard and pretty common. But so he invited me back in 2005. Stephanie and I came back to Rush Creek and started as the Miralagos campus pastor. And from there, it kind of birthed this excitement. And once we saw that this was scalable and we could do this underneath the umbrella of Rush Creek, multiple campuses, then it was like we just started praying about how else do we want to do this. And some of our campuses came through what we would call revitalization, meaning they were a standalone church, but they fell upon hard times and were struggling to keep the doors open, so to speak. And they reached out to us and were like, hey, if we came underneath the umbrella of Rush Creek, would y'all help us? And we saw it as an opportunity. If we could keep a light in a dark world, we want to do that to the best of our ability, if possible. And so that's kind of how the multi-site strategy started. And there are lots of different ways you can do it. We chose not to go video. We chose to have live teaching pastors, campus pastors at each campus, which is not always the easiest or the cheapest. However, we just think that relational value is super important. Meaning a campus pastor who leads their staff and leads the people at each congregation, because when someone like a Bryan is going through something, they're not thinking about calling or texting the guy on the video screen that they have no relationship with.
Right.
When their life falls apart or when tragedy strikes them, they want to go to someone that they know, that they love, and who they feel known by. Yeah. And so that's the reason we kind of have done multi-site the way that we have.
Wow. Kind of leads into our next question about the Rush Creek Loves, right?
Yes.
So, church isn't just a building, right?
It's not.
And so how did that movement of Rush Creek Loves, like, what urged you to kind of launch that campaign and saying, hey, Rush Creek Loves?
Yeah. So it's really the heartbeat, in the Bible, because we're a church. This is kind of our leadership textbook, so to speak. And it's not that I don't read a ton of leadership books, but we get a lot of who we are and what we do from God's word. And in 1 John chapter 4, verse 19, it just says that we love because he first loved us. And that really sparked this idea of we want everyone within a 3 to 5 mile radius of each one of our campuses. We want them to feel and know the love of Jesus in a way that's tangible and real, which means we got to get outside of the four walls of a building that we have sometimes thought of as a church.
Right.
And mobilize an army of people to go and be the hands and feet of Jesus and to be the love of Christ in this community. And at the same time, we would do something where we were getting into our schools, about 32 different local schools in the area, allow us to come in the week before school starts and just partner with the teachers. Teachers have a lot of hard work to do as they prepare for the start of school, from organizing desks to cutting out handouts to setting up their classrooms to painting walls, even outside in flower beds, and just trying to beautify, if you will, the school to the best of our ability. And so at first, Bryan, I'm going to tell you that schools were very skeptical. And we started with this idea of Rush Creek Loves. Like, we want them to know that we love them, because if they know we love them, they may get a glimpse of God's love for them. And so that's how we started. And it didn't start as 32 schools. It started probably as 5 or 6, 7 or 8. And then as schools started, the administration started trusting us and realizing that, hey, we're not just coming in and kind of throwing the Bible down their throat, so to speak. We're coming in and partnering with these teachers. Yeah. We're showing them the love of Christ. We're serving them. And as opportunity comes, we just say, is there anything we could pray for you and your family? It has been incredible to see the response of these teachers. And so that kind of has spread to where now our reputation, I think, in the community is that we are a church that loves. And so we have just hung on to Rush Creek Loves. And actually, it's really now part of our vision statement of Rush Creek Loves, helping people find and follow Jesus. That's who we are.
That's awesome. And that was funny because my next question was about partnerships. But how, you mentioned schools, but how important is it, not just schools, but other nonprofits, other local leaders, like, making sure that we're building that trust throughout DFW? How important is that? Even at a church level?
Yeah, it's so important because most of our people have heard about our reputation or have experienced us before they ever walk through the doors of a building. And that says a lot, because we want them to have experienced our love and our a desire to serve the community before they even walk into one of our locations. And when that happens, the walls for them, whatever barriers they had to church or to faith, kind of is broken down to some degree. And so from one aspect, it's helped us kind of tear down some walls for individuals. But the other thing is, I just think that it's so important that the community in each one of our cities that we serve in, whether it's Grand Prairie, Mansfield, Arlington, that they know that ultimately we're for them and we want to serve them. Because again, that gives us opportunity to really come alongside as a church then and say, hey, we're about more than just trying to get a ton of people to come into a building.
Right.
Like, we're about wanting to serve you, help you, love you, care for you, meet needs within the community. And when they start to see the legitimacy of that and the authenticity of that, it makes them a little bit more open to what's the message and why are they doing this?
Yeah.
Which goes back to, we love because Christ first loved us.
That's awesome. But it's funny because we talk about build, launch, grow, scale, and the next phase of this show is grow. And you came in during a time where you came in as leadership, and then all of a sudden a pandemic hit.
Yes. Didn't have that on my radar.
No. But when we talk about growth, like, a lot of people, when talking about whether that's churches, organizations, nonprofits, businesses, they think grow, it's like, oh, I'm growing. But really, there's a lot of growing pains.
Yes.
A lot of painful, things that happen throughout even as a business and organization. So talk to us through what happened. How did you overcome that pandemic?
Man, it was probably the most challenging leadership lesson and obstacle I had ever faced. And no one ever dreamed that this would happen. And yet we found ourselves. So I am less than 5 months into being the lead pastor of a church that has 5 campuses, 6 at the time, with Handley. And then this pandemic sweeps through. And the story very quickly is, I'm on a study break and my wife is with me. We have a mission trip with students in Mexico. And so our student pastors are calling us saying, hey, listen, they're shutting down. We're going to have to come home early. At the time, my executive pastor decided he was actually stepping away from Rush Creek and was going back into the corporate world for a job. And so I'm on this study break, and in 1 week, we're sending our kids home early because of this pandemic. We have my staff is shrinking, and then I come to face the reality of there's pressure of we gotta not meet in person, which for a church, that's a really big deal. I mean, granted, we were already online with our services streaming, and which I'm thankful for, but still, the body in the church, what we do is all about people. Yeah. And so gathering is a big part of what we do. Right. And starting in March, that second week, I believe in March of that year, they're like, yeah, you can't gather in spaces like that. And it was challenging because I had to gather with my leadership. We had to make decisions, send out communication. And then you just had the onslaught of people who agree or disagree with your decisions of not meeting in person. Then when we did start meeting in person, masks, no masks, it was just a storm of any decision you made there for a while was the wrong decision for about half the people. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. And everybody felt that in any business or church or whatever. Everyone felt that. Yeah, because it's like, and we all know this, during the pandemic, there was mixed beliefs. Sure. Right? And so
it was definitely a tough storm to face as a nation and as a community. So it's just interesting. That's like, hey, I didn't realize, that it would affect that much, right? And then it did, and we all shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And then as leaders, is like, I think it was good though on another point, because throughout leadership, because it taught leaders, like, to your point, leaders. Somebody said something to me a long time ago when I was working for a gym. I'm not gonna say the gym's name, but there was a leader, and he was the vice president. And I actually did not like him very well. Okay. But, I did take a lot of what he said, and remember that even now today as a leader. And one of the things he said was, Bryan, do you know why leaders get paid the most? And I was just like, I don't know. 'Cause they do the best work. And they're like, no. I was like, 'cause they can manage the facility best. And they're like, nope. I was like, I don't know, because they can produce. They generate results. Nope, no. Every answer was no. And he said, because they get judged the most. You know why they get judged the most? It's because they have to make the hard decisions.
Yep.
And not everyone is going to agree with those decisions. Yep. And he was just like, and you've heard the saying, heavy's the crown.
Yeah. Well,
there's a crown of weight that pulls down leaders because they're wearing this crown, and it's a crown of decisions. And each decision is under a microscope.
Yep.
It's like, wow, and then the larger your leadership role, the more responsibility, the more you'll be judged.
Sure.
And so I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. It's the first time that I had faced that much criticism before in my leadership and my decision making. And, a man that I still love and have a ton of respect for, Russ, who's one of my spiritual mentors and pastor before me, he told me, he said, Marty, until you sit in this seat of lead pastor, you'll never fully feel the weight of that leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading something the other day, Bryan, that just said, I don't know if I agree with this definition of leadership fully, but it certainly resonates with me that leadership is letting down people that you love at a rate that they can handle.
Mm.
Leadership is letting people down that you care about, that you love, but doing it at a rate that they can handle. And there's a lot of discernment in that definition of leadership from the standpoint of knowing what's the rate that they can handle.
Yeah.
Because we've seen leaders who've made decisions that were too fast, too quick, too broad, and it destroyed the company or destroyed the church or split the church. And yet you want a leader to love and care about the organization and the people and the staff, but yet that you're going to let some of them down at some point. And you still have to be willing and able to make those decisions and do so at a rate that they can tolerate, they can handle.
Yeah, there's a lot of grace,
Sure.
Required on both ends, I believe.
Yeah.
Of managers and employees, staff, community leaders, and community, members.
Yep.
I think there's that we forget that. It's hard. It's very hard when you're growing and scaling.
Yeah.
Because every decision, like you said, is under a microscope, and not everybody's going to agree. It could be wrong for some people, and they won't disagree, and they won't like it. And because they don't like it, they may view you differently.
Sure.
Right. And so I think that it is tough. It is tough being a leader. Scaling as you growing these churches and possibly even planting new churches in the future. How do you keep consistency?
Yeah. Well, we have I have a credible team around me, number one. And I think any leader recognizes that they're not always the smartest or the greatest in the room. And if you don't have a team of people around you who are experts in their fields. So when I say that, I'm saying a communications team around me, executive team around me, who is helping us make sure that we use language like this is above the line, below the line. And so we recognize that every campus is going to have an expression of their own personality that may be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But those core principles and those core values and the things that are above the line, we want to be the same at all campuses. And we want to serve under the same vision. We want to make sure that, we're valuing people. We're wanting to make sure that we're pursuing generosity, that we really, really are choosing joy in our day-to-day work. So I just have a team of people around me that are helping me make sure that template is stock and standard for each one of our campuses. And that's not always easy. Mm-hmm. There's ebb and flow in that. But, that's what's helped us. And at the end of the day, for us as a faith-based organization, that's not just based on the bottom line or a dollar. We're based on what drives us is overall impact in the kingdom of God. Mm-hmm. And what is going to position us to be able to have the greatest opportunity to make the greatest impact. And if that means that we're 8 campuses or 10 campuses, or if that means that we're 2 campuses because we were able to launch a campus out to be its own self-existing church, mm-hmm. then we don't see that as a loss. We see that as a win for the kingdom.
Right.
I read a book years ago by J.D. Vance. No, J.D. Greer. Sorry, J.D. Greer. J.D. Vance is the vice president. J.D. Greer, called Gaining by Losing. Mm-hmm. And it just challenged your thought process in, when you have someone, let's just say, leave your company mm-hmm. and go start another company. In the business world, that probably is challenging and difficult. In the faith space, that should be really encouraging and exciting, is that you had the opportunity to develop and to train and to equip a leader to feel equipped enough to go and launch something mm-hmm. that is now going to have maybe a greater impact than it could have had underneath your building, underneath your roof, in a different space. And so it's helped me just kind of realize that, man, at the end of the day, we want to be kingdom builders, not just Rush Creek builders.
That's awesome. And so what excites you the most about the new leaders coming in, the new generation?
Yeah, man, there's been a lot of debate about millennials, younger generation, and just to be honest, Bryan, I feel like that people have sometimes given them a bad rap from the standpoint of, man, I see a lot of great leaders. Now, I think that they still have to be willing to be teachable. Mm-hmm. But what I have found is if any young leader that's willing to be teachable, like coachable, mm-hmm. and they're humble, man, there is anything is possible for them. And when I have found leaders like that on our team and on our staff, we look for opportunities to invest in them, to give them greater responsibility, mm-hmm. to expand their leadership, and then we keep coaching them to be able to hopefully be able to do this at a greater capacity, whether it's in Rush Creek, at Rush Creek, or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But I'm really excited about young leaders. They really want to make a difference, and they want to make an impact in the world today. They want their lives to matter for something. Mm-hmm. And that right there is very encouraging and exciting to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, purpose.
Purpose. There you go.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm a millennial, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've heard all the stuff, and it's like I feel like people give them a bad rap sometimes, mm-hmm. and the reality is I think young leaders, man, they want their lives to matter, mm-hmm. and they want to do something. There's a reason why you're here, the reason why you do this podcast, the reason mm-hmm. why you have this company. You want, at the end of the day, for you to have invested your life in something that matters, mm-hmm. purpose.
And I think I talked about that with my staff a lot too. It's like, you're not just building a website.
Right.
You're not just doing video. You're not just doing podcasts. You're equipping people with things and resources they need, and it is hard. It is hard because sometimes, and we battle with this all the time, is, it is a service. I always say, sometimes I joke about it. I say it's a thankless job, because if it goes right, it's great, but there's not really much thank yous. But if it goes wrong, it's all our fault. So,
right. It's true.
But at the end of the day is, are we making a difference in these business owners and these corporations, and, they have staff, they have people, and is our marketing making a difference, right? And so it's a tough job too. It's a tough job. And so wrapping up here, you said legacy means leaving Rush Creek healthier than when you received it. So what does that mean to you?
To me, healthier than when I stepped in would just be that we all are replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single one of us in whatever jobs we have, anyone is replaceable. I would hope that whenever God calls me out of Rush Creek's leadership, that Rush Creek is able, because of my time there,
mm-hmm.
to just continue on without missing a beat, from the standpoint of, hey, our mission is still the same, like that was given to us by Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Our community, the world, is still broken and in need of God's love and hope, and He's placed us here to be able to be that light in an ever increasingly dark world. And man, I would just say, if there's one word that I want my whole ministry to be summed up in, it would just be, someone who gave hope, who just helped people see that there's hope. I think that many people, whether they're in the faith space or not, just struggle with a sense of hopelessness at times.
Mm-hmm.
And that ultimately, there's deeper things there, but that ultimately reveals the foundation of their identity,
and
who they're looking to for their hope, which is where in the faith space and in churches and as a believer, I feel like that my mission and my whole ministry is to help people see that they have hope and value because they're loved by God that created them and has a plan for their life. And if they can begin to taste and see His goodness and His love for them, I think their perspective changes, and I think their identity is grounded in something that lasts.
That's awesome. Well, Pastor Marty, thank you for jumping on this podcast.
Brian, thank you, man. It's been a joy and an honor. Love what you guys are doing, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, you guys heard it. Even churches have the journey of build, launch, grow, scale. You can find Pastor Marty and the Church of Rush Creek at rushcreek.org. And on there, they have plenty of social medias. They have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right?
I think just Facebook and Instagram.
Just Facebook and Instagram. They also have a podcast themselves, right? So go and listen to that. So if you want to find out more, also just a shameless plug, I am a volunteer drummer sometimes. Sometimes once a month, come see me drum. But thank you guys for listening to the Market It with ATMA podcast. My name is Bryan, and we'll see you next time.